The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
This is Media Mash,
A roundtable of Cowboys insiders
dropping wisdom
and offering sizzling takes
on the current state of your Dallas Cowboys.
Now, your host,
Steve Dennis.
Read this on Twitter this afternoon. I don't think it's very funny, but it is clever. Somebody said suddenly the Dallas Cowboys have become the Dallas Calf Boys. Kind of clever. Not funny, but big news today that we need to dive straight into here with John Machota from The Athletic, Nick Eatman from All Dallas Cowboys Productions, and Clarence E. Hill Jr. from the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. I'm Steve Dennis. This is Media Mash. So here we go, guys. Another calf injury. And their best two defensive ends suffer. Well, the other one had a foot, but they both suffered them in a midweek practice.
We're talking practice. Did Tawana tell you that?
Who?
You don't know what Tawana is, do you?
What is?
Did Tawana tell you that?
I'm not falling for the joke. Go ahead.
No,
I'm supposed to say, tell me what?
Practice. Anyway, it's the old Allen Iverson joke. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
We're talking practice.
Randy Gregory has a calf injury,
all the time.
And he went on IR officially, didn't he? Three games at least, but they played.
I need some life out of you guys. You guys are just come on.
Tell a good joke.
It was a good joke.
That's not a good joke.
It had to be there.
Yeah, Clarence, because I haven't been around you for the last 10 years, and you say it all the time, and it wasn't funny 10 years ago. It wasn't funny.
But at least you knew what I was talking about. But he didn't even know what I was talking about.
Well, it shows you I haven't been around him for the last 7 years.
At least you knew the reference. That's all. At least you knew the reference. He didn't even know the reference.
I thought. I mean, the show starts out with like Twitter said this, and then it's like the Calf Boys. We could do better than that.
I thought it was kind of clever.
I thought it's such like dad joke.
Dude.
Like, wow.
We're dads, okay?
How about?
I thought it was kind of clever.
We're old enough to be granddads.
It's kind of clever if like they're the only team that are dealing with calf injuries, but it's like the league is dealing with calf injuries.
Is calf the new hamstring? You remember when everybody had a hamstring problem?
Well, you know,
the Miles Austin injury.
Calf. Come on.
It's like
I thought it was somewhat
calf-ass team,
but again, not
I like that
fun.
more.
It's Randy Gregory.
Like
if you don't know, if you haven't heard, they play 4 games in 18 days. My money's going to probably be out all 4.
At 0. Yeah, I mean, well, if it's closer, like they said, it was closer to Dak Prescott's calf injury, if that is a thing. I mean, he missed 2 weeks. So we're looking at this game. I really wanted to see him rush Patrick Mahomes. But anyways, that's 2 games. And then if he misses that one, he's probably going to miss the next one with Thanksgiving. And then you got another week. So
the interesting thing, though, when he mentions it being more similar to Dak's is also the position he plays. Like, I don't know how much does that affect you as an edge rusher, because he has said before with the Gallup thing being a wide receiver, it was going to cost him a little bit more. And then the one that I keep going back to is how he, we're out at practice and I see Neville Gallimore pushing this sled. And I'm like, oh, he must be right around the corner.
Hey, let's go.
And I'm like, oh, he must be coming back like next week. And then McCarthy goes, yeah, but you got to remember the position he plays. And because of that, it's going to be longer than you think because of, everyone uses their body differently. And so I'm bringing this up because I don't think everybody should just assume like, oh, well, Dak only missed 2 weeks. Randy only missed 2.
Well, and also I think that some are more serious than others. Clearly, Dak's wasn't as serious as the other two. And Mike McCarthy said Dak's was like Randy's, or Randy was closer to Dak's. But Dak really could have played against the Vikings. They held him out for precautionary reasons, not because he couldn't play. This is a situation where they don't believe Randy can play for 3 weeks.
Yeah. The way Mike talked today, he seemed pretty down, a lot more down than he was on the Dak injury. If you just read between the lines, there was a lot of talk of like, even though he hadn't said at the time he was going on IR, you certainly felt that at that news conference.
And just like, and I guess it's us because we've seen hamstrings keep Sean Lee out for several weeks.
Right.
Mari Cooper's been dealing with a hamstring all season, but he's somehow gotten able to play. So it depends on the grade of the strain. And clearly Dak's wasn't as serious as Michael's or as Randy's.
I think it's interesting that all you guys have become experts on calf strains.
We've been dealing with hamstring
talking grades, and
I can sit here.
So grade 3.
I'm a freaking expert.
Right, he's expert. He's experienced. We've talked about it. But again, as you kept talking about yours, clearly Dak's wasn't as bad as yours.
Of course not.
And then Dak has, 24-hour care.
And you didn't have to play quarterback.
right?
No.
Now you're a fine athlete.
Did you get on the resistance
And the thing about it is,
No.
it's funny because we talk about Dak doesn't have to do as much as receivers. Did you watch Dak last week? He was running and cutting, and I don't know what anybody else could have done more at any other position. The way he was
trucking people for 2-point conversions to make the score 30-16.
The way he was spinning out of sacks, and when he went to the sideline, did that little dipsy do to try to get that extra yard,
holding the ball out.
Yes,
missing open receivers.
Well, that too. That's part of the mechanic. That had nothing to do with the.
It all comes with the dinner.
Had nothing to do with the strain.
You don't know that.
Footwork.
We'll get into that.
No,
later.
I think it has everything to do with fundamentals, not because
we'll get
he was
into that
limited
later.
by the strain. It wasn't because the injury
We'll get
was
into
doing
the
that.
$40 million quarterback later.
Yeah, let's keep it on. Let's keep it on the news of the week first. Trust me, we got a whole thing coming up on Dak, but a big picture first. All of a sudden, after their performance this past week, and you're looking at Matt Ryan, Mahomes, Carr, the next three. What is Atlanta? 4-2 in their last 6, playing
well,
much better football. Kansas City, who knows? Vegas on Thursday, Thanksgiving. I mean, is the 4 games in 18 days coming off of this one is without Randy Gregory. Don't know when Tank's coming. Maybe in December. We don't know. Does it all of a sudden is in one of those little dark clouds maybe hovering, and it's going to be a difficult stretch.
If you think that, if you're talking only about them getting like the 1 seed and having that first round bye in the playoffs, then yeah, it's a really dark cloud, and you probably should go ahead and stop thinking about that. But this team is making the playoffs. I mean, they're just in an awful division. Randy can be out for another 4 or 5 weeks. Tank can be out for another 4 or 5. It'll all come down to that back end of the season, and those guys will be back for then, and they'll beat the Giants, and they'll beat Washington, and they're going to make the playoffs. But having that chance so that everybody looks at the standings like, oh, they could have the 1 seed overall and get a bye and all that. Yeah, that ship sailed.
Well, maybe it's a little dip, and then they get it geared up late and find the streak again.
I mean, the way they started and with the streak, people were talking about more than just the playoffs. They were talking about more than the season.
Absolutely.
They were like, this is that season. That dream
and it still
season.
can be that.
Well, I understand
I
that.
said they're making the playoffs. I mean, that's what this team was going to be judged on if they were 15-2. It was always going to come down to that.
You know how Slep Rock creeps around here, and people get...
You do what now?
What was that?
Slep Rock. You remember Slep Rock? And that one to Slep Rock? You got to know Slep Rock? From
Another chill reference.
Bedrock?
Slep Rock. Slep Rock. From
Flintstones?
No, from the Peanuts. The negative... Oh, my God, you never heard of Slep Rock?
Oh, boy.
Google that.
You're talking Charlie Brown here?
Yes, the Peanuts, Slep Rock.
I mean,
anyway,
Peppermint Patty?
Not Peppermint Patty, not Lucy. Not.
Okay.
Anyway.
All righty.
Go ahead and finish that point.
Go ahead, Linus.
And this is a week. First of all, this is a week-to-week conversation. So I'm just saying, from the feeling of people, Cowboy fans, the panic across the nation, whatever else. They got PTSD. They've been excited and led to believe that this is the year before, and then the rug gets pulled out from under.
Sure, but none of these guys are lost for the season. That's why I'm bringing this up. You're still getting Tank back. You're getting Neville Gallimore back. You're getting Randy back. Like, this is a team that is still, all of their goals are still there. It's all going to come down to what they do in the playoffs. So you might not get the bye. You might have to go play on the road. Like, yeah, that was always going to be part of it,
Yes, I know. But
it was never going to be easy.
Yeah, I know, but people wanted it to be easy. They wanted this road, this perfect road that it looked like.
Oh, well, have fun. Well, this must be your first year watching the NFL. They just
not the NFL. I'm talking about
from Cowboys.
I'm talking about from the Cowboys because things have they've been 13-3 before. They've had the seed before, and something just always happens. And it seemed like at some point that the Cowboys have had adversity. We talked about why we thought this was a special season because they have had adversity before, but things kept turning out okay. No one thought they'd beat Minnesota with Cooper Rush, your quarterback. It turned out okay. No one thought they'd go in and beat the Chargers without Tank and without Gregory, and it turned out okay. And so
And this will probably turn out okay, too. They'll probably
see.
win 2 out of these next 3, and we'll look at it and be like, wow, it was fun to talk about.
It's a big cup of reality, and that's okay.
Yeah, and it's a wake-up call. Probably a needed wake-up call.
I mean, they don't face anybody. They don't have any more great teams on the schedule except for maybe Arizona at the end of the season. But I mean, these next 4 games you just talked about, like all of them are good. Atlanta is playing well. So that makes them good right now. I think Kansas City has been phenomenal, even though they're not good this year. But I think they're going to be good in Kansas City. I think the Raiders that'll be a good game, and I think the Saints that's going to be a good
at home.
One
that's going to be a tough game.
They're all but they're all winnable, but they're all losable. And like John said, they'll probably be 2-2 out of that stretch, maybe 3-1. 3-1 would be in great shape if you're 3-1 going.
It's hard to guess after what we just witnessed Sunday, and we'll do that next segment too. But all right, let me ask you guys, in your opinion, who needs to make the biggest impact with Gregory now out? Is it Armstrong, Basham, Golson, or Micah moving back to the edge?
Number 1 has to be Micah, and I know he's already done a lot, and so you're kind of sitting there like, how much more can you really ask from him? Well, you got to ask more. So number 1 has to be Micah there, and then number 2 is just whoever out of those other 3 that you mentioned with the Golson and Basham and Armstrong, one of those other players at least. One of them has to step up and play like a good starting quality player. That might happen, it might not, but one of those 3 has to.
Your guess who that one would be?
I don't feel great about any of them, but I would say I'm leaning towards Dorrance Armstrong just because he showed some flashes early in the year before he got hurt that looked like this might be the year he was putting together that he could be that guy. But some injuries have set him back, so I guess I'll go with him. But I think any one of those 3 you can put in any order.
Well, before we get to that, are you saying that Micah needs to be on rushing from the edge? See, because I don't think that he either, and I've argued all
field.
day. I've argued all day with people, and I think what he's doing in the linebacker position is where he needs to be. So you didn't have in week 2. You did not have Golston. Dorrance did play. I think he got hurt in the game, but I think they can make it work there on the edge. I think what Mike is doing on the outside, and so if I had to guess who the guy would be, I would say maybe Golston. But,
yeah,
but
I certainly don't. And I should say I didn't mean like how in some of those games where Mike could just play just edge rusher. I don't mean that at all.
Don't do that. But every once in a while, just confuse what they're
work
doing.
fine against Denver.
If not Micah, Clarence, why would McCarthy be so cleverly cryptic about it? With the game's at noon. Don't be late.
I think he said a couple of things because he went back and said, we talked about it and we're not going to do a lot of major changes. So I think that's saying we're not going to make Micah the full-time defensive end. But I do think Micah's the guy. The only guy you can hope for is that you're going to get a pass rush from. I mean, come on.
Right.
I don't think he's going to play the entire game like he did against the Broncos, but it's when obvious passing downs, put him on the edge. You need him to rush the passer. They don't have anybody that you can count on that can get to the quarterback, and Micah has to be that guy. I just want to reset one thing. Slep Rock is from the Flintstones. It's a doomy character where everything, bad luck always follows him.
That was very late in the Flintstones.
It was still on the Flintstones.
It was almost after it jumped the shark, but now I know who you mean.
The other thing about Micah,
they had the alien too that came in.
I'm just saying.
The other thing about Micah is that opposing.
I just I wasn't crazy.
Opposing offensive.
Get right back on the road there, John.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about this. Opposing offensive coordinators, when they look at teams, when they're game planning, they look for the guys that can wreck games. And Randy can wreck games. DeMarcus Lawrence can wreck games. They don't have them. The guy that can wreck this game is Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
And
which
so
is
it
why
has to be him.
Yeah, I think.
Bam, bam.
Doesn't that have to be? Oh, well, I like it. Let's just. No, let's not.
Bam, bam. Bam, bam. He's the new Bam, bam.
I mean, Jill always is talking about Flintstones and Happy Days, and I just want to move on from this stuff.
Yeah.
Happy Days.
Happy Days.
Hey.
Oh, here we go.
I brought this on myself.
Man, I remember the Happy Days. All of a sudden.
Yeah, before the Denver game.
Yeah. Nobody's saying, hey. They're going, hey, is what they're doing.
Why did I do this?
And again, as you're saying, game wreckers on the edge aren't there. And I bring him up again, Matt Ryan, with that 21 mile per hour, as McCarthy pointed out today. Running back? Come on, man. They call him a running back. Cordero Patterson, who is having a ridiculous year. I think he's been in the league 23 years, and he's finally discovered his talent. Mahomes and Carr. If you're not wrecking those guys, they can beat you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they can. But that's just going to be like games like last year where you might not enjoy them, but they're going to have to be high-scoring games,
I mean, Bridgewater beat him, I mean, he's not as good, in my opinion.
He's sneaky good, though.
Well, but not
people sleep on him, in my opinion.
He's sneaky good.
Okay, I mean.
He's not as good as these next
That's
three.
what I'm saying. He's not as good
No.
as.
Agreed.
And I think that this is a defense that plays well when the game is close, when they have the lead, not when they're behind. And this is a team that has playmakers on the outside. And as much as Diggs was Dion the first 6 games, we got to stop the penalties. We can't give up the big play.
He's been Dion figures right now.
All right.
Right, you can't give. And they have some players to make plays down the field. They got the tight end. Who's going to cover the tight end? The future best tight end in football.
Oh, that'll be Jaron Curse. I don't know how well it's going to go, but that's who will have that assignment. It's not going to be Micah Parsons. They need Micah Parsons going downhill.
No, Micah Parsons, right. But
I'm just saying because a lot of people are already making those comparisons because they're friends. They train together in the offseason, both from Pennsylvania guys and stuff like that. But I don't see in the passing game, you don't want to do that. You need a more of a defensive back on a guy's talent like that has the talent that Kyle Pitts does.
Well, and with Ridley out, beside Pitts and Patterson, they don't have any other explosive players.
No,
Russell Gage is not that explosive.
And that's the other thing about Patterson is we talk about Michael Rush from the edge. You might need to run down Patterson from sideline to sideline because that's a running back that can hit the corner and he can go. And the Cowboys had problems last week, and they will continue to have problems stopping edge runs.
Yep.
And I'm running Patterson on the edge until they show me can stop it.
Yeah, and then that's what's kind of surprising because this team isn't that big on defense.
No.
They're undersized, but they're quick. I mean, I said earlier this week I wish I knew the stat on this. What's the record for most tackles for loss in a game that you lost? Because, 10 tackles for loss is a lot. And they were in the backfield all day long. But yet, Denver was able to overcome it because they ran the ball on second down. A lot of it, like Clarence said, off the edge. You just thought the way Leighton would be and Micah would be and these guys could get to the football that you couldn't make those type of plays on the Cowboys. But they have. And so I think that's something
I don't want you guys to get the bends here when we go from the Gregory topic to the next topic real quick, but it is kind of news of the week. I'm going to try it. Hairu Lahu.
Yeah, it sounds good.
You got it.
Was I close?
Yeah.
If Zerline is out, and he probably will be, this dude has never kicked in the NFL. 6 years in the CFL. So, that's something that has come up this week. Is how big of a problem might that be? And how might it change? McCarthy loves to go for every 4th and 1 or 2 on that side of the field anyway. So maybe we're going to see even more of that with a kicker who nobody trusts.
Yeah, and that should be the plan. It should be the plan to score touchdowns every single time you have the ball. This plan for this game, if you look at how Atlanta is against the pass, you should be going out there to throw all over them. Dak out there today seemed like a very, very motivated by how poorly he felt he played. Talked about watching his footwork, things like that, and he just didn't like it. From short throws, long throws, whatever. He's highly motivated, and this is the perfect secondary. This is a perfect pass defense to go against. I don't think that you should be playing a field goal game, and if you do, you're in trouble because their field goal kicker is great. And so I think this is a game where the Cowboys come out and they finish these drives that they weren't finished. I think they have the same game plan they do for Denver. They're going to be going for it on those 4th downs again. Now the thing is, people sit there and talk about, does someone have the blueprint? Somebody does have the blueprint. You also have to have the players to execute that blueprint that Denver had. I don't know that Atlanta has those players.
Well said. I think he's right about that. Hopefully they score touchdowns. You'll still get to see a 34-yard extra point. You'll get to see him do that. And the goal is to go out there and make kicks. And what I wonder is if they're sitting on the 36-yard line, with Zerline, they throw him out there 53, 54-yarder. I don't know if they'll do that with Hairu. I don't know if they'll try to punt him and punt the ball and pin him back there. And I don't know. This is one of those where pregame warmups is going to be heavily watched more so than in the past. You just want to see what this guy's got, what his leg is.
And we're going to skip Clarence on this because I've known him a long time. He doesn't like to talk about kickers. He just doesn't even want to bother with kickers.
But I'm with Machota. They're going to. I don't. The problem is that the 4th and 1, 4th and 2. There was nothing wrong with those decisions.
I didn't like the second one.
The second one was wide open. The second was the best one.
Doesn't matter. They're on the 20-yard line. Get 3 points.
They had a
scoreless
touchdown.
game. Get the field goal.
If Dak hits the pass, it's a touchdown.
But he didn't.
Okay, he didn't. But it was not a bad decision.
I think it was.
I think it was too.
Yeah. You disrespected the 3 points there.
How do you know if he was even going to make the kick?
Oh, there we go.
Right.
We're crystal balling it. Hey, real quick before we get to the break and the meats of the hour podcast in the next segment, Michael Gallup, his impact immediately, Nick, will be what?
He'll be. I really don't know. I don't know what his impact is going to be. I mean, because he's going to be like the fourth or fifth option there in the passing game. I think he's probably going to help them with the deep ball more than what they've had. And we'll see if Dak is ready to turn it loose and throw it. But if he's not open, he's not getting the ball, and that's what I love about the offense is that he's going to throw it to the guy that's open. So just because he's back in doesn't mean he's going to get 6, 7, 8 targets.
Timing's pretty good, right? Because Said is a little tweaked or something.
Yeah, he hasn't practiced the last 2 days. So
he did throw a lot with Dak after practice.
He did.
We get to watch it. And he looked pretty good catching the ball. Obviously, he didn't fall on the shoulder.
Yeah.
But he ran fine and looked good. We'll see. He's the fourth receiver now. Let's be honest about it.
Who, Gallup?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Cedric has shown that he needs to be on the field.
That's pretty good fourth receiver.
Especially being in
really
the slot. But they're going to rotate the guys because we've seen them have to use Noah Brown, use some other guys. Last week, CD was not 100%. Could Gallup made a difference if he was 100%? Well, you have a chance to see that now.
Yeah.
Dak said today that Dak and Amari both said today that Michael's made some outstanding catches, some highlight grabs in practice. But that's practice. Like, I just find it hard to believe that he's going to just come right back from missing every game since week 1, and there's not going to be some rust, and there's not going to be a little timing stuff there. So it's probably good that, I agree with you guys. He's 4 right now, but if he gets back to being Michael Gallup, he's definitely going to be number 3.
All right, speaking of rust, how much did that play into the performance from number 4? Let's get to our second segment. Aaron Gonzalez is in for Chris Beam today. We want to thank him in the booth for doing what he does. He's going to take us to a quick break. How bad some of the topics in that horrible game against Denver from these guys' opinions next.
Honey, big news.
Gary, are you okay?
Oh, I'm not Gary anymore. I'm Jackie Flash.
What?
See, I want the latest smartphone, but the best deals are only for new customers. So, to get a new customer deal, I changed my name to Jackie Flash.
Okay, but the best smartphone deals at AT&T are for everyone, new and existing customers.
That's huge. Then guess who's getting a deal?
Is it Jackie Flash?
Jackie Flash.
It's not complicated. At AT&T, our best smartphone deals are for everyone. Restrictions apply. Visit att.com for details.
New Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. You deserve it.
I do deserve that.
You deserve decadent flavor without sugar. And a day at the beach without sand getting everywhere. And a relaxing bath that your children don't interrupt.
I deserve all that?
It's really just a visual metaphor for Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. Everything you want, nothing you don't.
A visual metaphor on the radio. I do deserve that.
Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. The zero you deserve is finally here.
Before there was a draft, you could size up a cowboy by 3 simple factors: the crease in his hat, the bend of his brim, and his unbending attitude. A man Stetson didn't just protect him from what life threw at him, it projected a rugged, unstoppable spirit. Stetson hats are still American-made with pride right here in Texas. They're still the unofficial crown of all self-respecting cowboys, and Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Find a retailer nearest you at stetson.com/cowboys.
There's nothing as unique as our eyes, which is why Essilor pioneers ways to make lenses as unique as you. Verilux for super sharp vision, Essential Blue for protection, and Crizal for freedom from glare. 3 cutting-edge solutions in a single unique lens. So whatever your needs, insist on Essilor. Visit your local Essilor experts and find the perfect lens for you. See more, do more, Essilor.
Back to Media Mash.
Back on Media Mash, my name is Steve Dennis, and it is John Machota from The Athletic, Nick Eatman from All Cowboys Productions, and Clarence E. Hill Jr. from the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. All right, let's get into it. I got in a little trouble yesterday with Jory and Slater Jane. Ooh. They didn't like any negativity at all from old Stevie D yesterday. I just pointed out that, to me, the Cowboys can't act like they've arrived, and they may have shown a bit of arrogance in their performance in this game. I think that's a fair question.
Yeah, I think it was not just the performance, the coaching.
Yeah,
it was arrogant. Say what you say about the fourth down, but I thought it was an arrogant way to kind of go out and play like, we're going to get this first down. Well, we didn't get it. Okay, well, we'll stop them, and we'll just go do it again, and we didn't get another one. Well, we're going to just beat them eventually, and they didn't, and it was pissing off the Broncos, and it was deflated.
It gave them energy.
Something. So I thought it started. Sorry, I thought it started with arrogance there from the coaching staff.
I really like it though. I'll be honest with you. I like that style.
Like 30-0.
Yeah. Well, it didn't work. It didn't work. But I hate people that like when stuff doesn't work, then they like second guess
I get it.
I like the mindset of it because I feel like that again. Like Mike McCarthy, who's setting the tone for this, knows what this franchise has been, and he knows what he was brought in for. And I think that this entire time, he's been setting the blueprint of what they want the long haul to be. Now, maybe there's some things that came out of that game that maybe he'll tweak and stuff like that, maybe with his approach. But I like the way that he's been building this thing like that. Like, I don't know. I like the aggressiveness.
I don't disagree with that. All I would say, though.
You like there's nothing.
No, but here's my phrase.
That was fun.
I think that they disrespected the process a bit. And
That's fair.
And I didn't think this team was that kind of a team. I think they're a hungry young team that goes to work and doesn't worry about other stuff. And I don't think you should disrespect the process.
I just think that that's part of the trend now, going for them. There are coaches that go for it all the time. I think the Chargers coach goes for it all the time. I don't think it's if you're into the stats and the analytics guys, they say going for it on 4th and 1 is the thing to do. You have a better chance of winning, better chance of scoring than kicking field goals. I think it's part of the thought processes now, and especially when you have a team that is on a roll. You're feeling good. Nothing can stop us, and that's where the Cowboys feel. And I do think they were overconfident. I do think they felt all they need to do is roll the ball out there, and if things were going to go well, that's
right.
Part of it. But that's more about them not keeping screws down in practice.
Yes.
Hey,
not the decision making in the game.
Not respecting the process.
But that happened in practice. That had to do with the 4th and 1 and 4th and 2. That had to do with their mindset in practice.
Right.
Okay, because if they are taking care of business, they all talked about the fact that they felt too good about themselves, they were overconfident. That was more the problem than the decision maker going for it.
So where's McCarthy at practice? Is he not there? I'm just saying, but it's his job to get a pulse of the team.
Yes.
So
the problem is they gotten away with it because they had bad practices before, and it turned out okay in game because he's talked about it.
He's been worried about it ever since they won 2 in a row.
I praise the coach.
He talked about it before.
I praise the coach all the time. When they're having success, I think he gets a lot of credit for it, and he should. He's done a really good job turning a lot of this thing around. But I think in the way that game was called early on, I put some of that on him early, and then if it happened in practice, then that's on him because the players said it all week. They were like, "It wasn't the best practice," and usually you hear it on Wednesday. You don't hear that back on Thursday, and so when we really open our eyes and go back and reflect, you can kind of see that this was going to happen. Maybe not 30-0 and then a blowout, but the writing was on the wall.
Okay, you guys were all at the game. I'm sitting there watching it with my spousal unit, and I said to her, I guarantee my wife, I guarantee.
You just can't say that.
I guarantee players are going to go, oh, we needed this. We needed a wake-up call.
Said it.
We needed to eat humble pie. No, you don't. I agree with McCarthy 100% on that. That's garbage.
No,
You're saying that because you got your ass kicked. No. And now you're going, oh, how are we gonna make sense of this?
I guarantee you, the Patriots when they went 17-0, whatever, they said we should have lost during the season, and they would have been different. They felt the ending would have been different.
That's not staying in the moment. Garrett told us to stay in the moment, baby. I'm going
just
back.
Saying it happens.
What's in front of your face?
But
happens a lot in college basketball.
You see that
football.
Team,
you see that team
undefeated.
that loses late and then they kind of get rolling a little bit. Also, but it goes down to we're all little boys at one point. We probably all got our ass whipped by parents or whatever. It probably needed it. Didn't want it at the time, but can come back and say, you know what, I probably needed that.
I agree with that too. I do think it can be a positive, but I knew they were all going to say that. All right, let's break it down into parts here.
That's because they said it don't make it wrong.
Right. You're right. I'm going to call this now, Machota gave me the okay on it, but it's either just a bad day at the office, right? That's what it's the NFL. It's just a bad day at the office. Or maybe the boss has his or her eye on you. See, those are the two choices. So maybe not just a bad day at the office. Maybe some eyes are on you. That's what I wanted, one or the other. And we got 4 topics here. And the first one is Dak. And I know the answer to this one. But I do want to dive into this with you. I mean, you just go through, speaking of numbers and analytics and all that. I mean, Dak has never had a game this bad. Mm-hmm. He just never has. I mean, this year, they were dead last, worst of the year in third down conversion. Start with that. But this will scare you. If you take away the 2 final drives that McCarthy wanted to see to get something out of it, and I agree with him on that, I think Dak should have been out there, and I think that worked perfectly. But you take those 2 drives away, the dude was 7 for 22 for 100 yards. I mean, they could do nothing. Now, I'm thinking it was just a day at the office, bad day at the office for Dak. None of us are going to question Dak. It would take about 12 games like this before you question Dak. But do you believe rust didn't bother him in the opener after 11 months against Tampa? What sense do you guys make out of Dak's performance?
I think that the difference between rust or not having rust in the opener, he was focused in the opener to prove people wrong. Okay, and that goes with that arrogance, that self-confident thing. He was focused in the opener to prove people wrong, and he did that. This game, things have been going well, and he will talk about it. Maybe it wasn't rust. Maybe he lost some of the edge because things had been going so well. And he'd been playing so well that played a role in some of the fundamentals, some of the things that had gone wrong or the accuracy or something like that. So I think there's a difference between, well, he didn't have any problems in the opener with rust. Why did he have problems here? I don't know if it was rust. I just think it was a combination of things that just snowballed on him.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Matches.
I was going to say, I really go back to, if you want to take it back to one play, it's that 4th down throw to Cedric Wilson. I mean, and I'm saying that just from watching the game over again. I didn't think it in the moment, but watching the game over again, and then now him after the game, and then him today talking, bringing that throw up. And it was early in the game, and it's a throw that he knows in his mind he's never going to miss. And he missed on that throw, and I think he was a little bit pressed, and after that, and I don't think his game was on where it normally is. But those numbers you read, though, I also can't put that all on him because, man, there was just some uncharacteristic drops in that game where you just kind of felt like, well, whatever can go wrong can go. It's going to happen.
And he got greedy because there were times in the game he just started throwing deep when, dude, there's got to be something underneath. And it was only in the 4th quarter that he started taking the underneath throws and moving the offense. But he got greedy. And a couple of times
Kellen has a hand in that too.
Yeah.
And he admitted it on Monday. I heard
just get the first down, get some momentum. It's like one of those 4th downs we overthrew CD. He could have run for the first down. Mm-hmm. Just build some momentum with the offense. But he tried to get the big play. And I know the big play was there, but sometimes just let's get a little bit at a time.
But and it wasn't just him. You usually don't say this from the defense. The defense was pressing. They were trying to get the ball out and stripping, and next thing you know, there's 14 more yards.
Tackle
the reason for me, I never really liked those stats of 7 for 22 for 100 yards until this or that because it is a 4-quarter game, and so the reason why I'll say bad day at the office because I do think that those last 2 drives probably helped. I'd rather them be there than just him getting pulled and Rush comes in and who knows what happens. And you certainly don't want Rush to do that.
I agree 100%.
But I'm just saying
he's not going to do that.
Well, he might have because he is kind of dink and dunk. I mean, and
I'm not even talking about him as much as the fact that Denver just wasn't playing the same way.
Sure.
But people would have judged it from afar as he can move up and down the field.
But if they were taking Dak out, they also would have taken Zeke out.
Hold on,
and they probably scored the 2 touchdowns.
I know, but Zeke was still on the field late in the game.
Why are you hating Amari?
He's not. I mean, this is a deep receiving core. I mean, he would be number 3 on Sunday.
Amari and CD was still on the field on the last 2 drives as well.
So was Zach. So
I think someone's got. But let's go back. In hindsight, yes, it was good to build some momentum and get that taste out of your mouth. But it's hypocritical. And I'm with Jerry. You cannot be talking about Dak's health and worrying about the long-term future of Dak's health.
Let me argue that. Can I argue that?
1 week ago, and then leave him at the end of a blowout when you have no chance of winning.
The same
and
thing.
He's running the ball. It is very much the same thing.
You never go
if he gets hurt, running the 2-point conversion, how you gonna feel?
Look, Nick, let me do this. You've been following the NFL for 24 years. It doesn't happen in the NFL. You don't go to the bullpen in the NFL. If you're down,
wasn't a bullpen. The game was over.
If
Just play your backups.
If a quarterback is in the game, he finishes the game.
That's not true.
It is absolutely true.
I've seen Dak put it in the blowout
I've
before.
seen starting quarterbacks take a knee when they're down 37 at the end of the game.
I've seen them put the backup in when the game is over. Jason has done that before.
You don't do that to Dak. That means he's quitting on his team. If they're
He
out
didn't
there,
quit on his team.
if
The
he's
game-
out there, if they're out there, he's out there.
Take them all
That's
out.
the
You
rule
take the
of the
starters
NFL.
out and you move on.
All right, we got to move on. Let's get to the next topic. The offensive line. I mean, Terrence Steele allowed 8 pressures. That's 3 more than Tyron all year at left tackle. Got handled by a rookie. He's a Buckeye. Zach didn't play great for him. Is that a bad day at the office with this reconfiguration of the line? If Tyron's going to be out, or does the boss have his or her eye on this situation?
No, this is not a bad day at the office. This is an offensive line that is not a great line anymore. Not right now. It has great linemen, and when they're healthy, they make it better. Tyron has been playing great when he's healthy, and what day of the week is that? I mean, it hasn't happened a lot. Zach Martin has had a great year for the most part, but I mean, I think they've got average players at center guard, and right now Lyle Collins isn't even playing, I don't think, to the level that we've seen from him. And Terrence Steele, when he's a backup, that he's not as good so far on the right side. So I think you add it all up, when 40% of your line is really good, the other 60% is average at best. It's not such a great line.
That sounds very problematic.
It is a problem, but I do think they'll be better. They won't be considerably better, but the fact that a second game from Terrence Steele, it's easy to hate on Terrence Steele because he didn't play well in that game, but there's really good Hall of Fame level offensive tackles, offensive guards that you move them from one position to the other in 1 week. They're not going to be that great all of a sudden after you getting used to playing one. It's not like playing receiver on the right side and then receiver on the left. That's a difficult move to make. I think a second game there, a second full week, and then I also think that Lyle now being back in there, I think he'll get a little bit more of the rust knocked off. But to Nick hit it. I mean, I couldn't sum it up any better than that.
Well, by the way,
this is not the offensive line that the Cowboys had in 14,
one of the
16.
most underappreciated jobs on an NFL roster, to me, is the swing tackle. That's what they have to be able to do.
You have to be ready to do it.
If you're
right.
the swing tackle. Chill, bad day at the office, or the boss has the eye out on this?
On the team or the offensive line?
Offensive line.
Oh, I think that the offensive line is not special. This is not a dominant line anymore. And certainly take Tyron Smith out, and it's a step down. And Lyle Collins is not playing like Lyle Collins of 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. And when he did in the opener, against Tampa. And so,
camp, yeah.
he did in the training camp. He wasn't the dominant player we saw 2 years ago. But I will say this, the offensive line was not the reason they lost. It was not the reason Dak missed passes. It wasn't the reason Amari Cooper dropped passes.
All right, well,
it didn't help.
It didn't help, but it wasn't. Everybody's killing Terrence Steele, but his pressures were not the reason why this offense bogged down throughout that game for most of that game. He was also out there at the end. When Dak was making plays. So, as we talk about that momentum, and he did play better toward the end. But it was a bad day at the offense all around for everybody.
Yeah. All right.
Not just the offensive line.
Let me get to the nuts of it real quick on the offensive line, then we'll switch to the next
Parsons had
topic.
good numbers, but he was part of that defense that gave up rushes. He had good tackles, but he was part of them breaking tackles toward the end of that game.
All right. If Tyron's going to be in and out, is this offensive line going to keep this team from winning a Super Bowl or even winning 2 playoff games? Is it that big of a problem? Are they good enough to do what we may think this team can do?
Yeah, I'm sorry to answer first on that one. But even though that question's kind of, is out there, it's like a loaded question. But yeah. It will be, because think about the playoffs. Think about those games like that. Think about what happens when you don't score. You get down there and you waste opportunities because your offensive line can't run the ball and get the first down on 3rd and goal or 4th and goal. You settle for field goals and you lose. So ultimately, yeah, I think it could be. If they would have lost to New England and it got close, you go back to those 4th downs where they just couldn't push it for 1 yard. I think the offensive line is going to be the difference on this team.
But I think that the question was if Tyron Smith's out. I think that's why you're holding him out. you're trying to get him healthy. I said last week, I don't know, were we on here? We talked about should have got surgery. I mean, get that thing cleaned up.
You want him ready when it matters.
We're ready when because we're going to the playoffs. It's going to hold them back in the playoffs. Let's get the thing healthy now.
I'm with you on that.
All right, next topic, Trayvon Diggs. He gives up 81 yards in this game, 64 air yards. We all have enjoyed the excitement of Trayvon Diggs, but in coverage, bad day at the office, we've seen a little bit of this from him, or boss has the eyes on it.
No, I mean, I think this is how a guy falls to the second round, because there are some parts of his game. He's got some holes in his game, but the highs are very high. And so you take the good with the bad. Like, anybody that really thought he was Deion Sanders, then you're going to be very disappointed by this. But he's still a really good corner. He's still an elite level Pro Bowl caliber corner. He's going to have some bad days at the office, but when the good is there, it's elite good. And so, I mean, I think he's already exceeded.
That's pretty strong. Machoda's coming pretty strong.
No, that's good.
Even if he doesn't keep up this pace, which nobody should have thought he was going to keep up this pace of interceptions per week. He still is exceeding anything anybody should have expected from him. So, there's going to be bad days in the office. This league is loaded with great receivers and great quarterbacks. Like, he's going to have bad days. I don't think it's something that you got to panic about. I mean, he's still the best player in their defensive backfield.
I can't help but to think, guys, and don't throw something at me.
I'm going to throw it at you.
But this is the way I think. Okay, the interceptions are wonderful. They matter. But Byron Jones was consistently good in coverage.
I'll take
he just wasn't giving up 84 yards.
I'll take Trayvon Diggs over that all day long, and the reason why, this defense is so much better when it gets those takeaways. Not having any takeaways these last 2 weeks has hurt that defense.
We're talking about this
time.
Defense. They need those takeaways. We're talking about this defense.
Okay,
Steve, on certain teams, I completely agree with you. On certain teams, I think Byron Jones would be
a corner that can cover.
And I think that everybody has a different preference on what you would like in that.
Right.
I personally think with the way this team's constructed, with the way their offense is, I want the guy that's taking the ball away.
And he can cover. I mean, sometimes the other team makes a play. So they get paid too.
That's true.
That first touchdown, if you go back and look at that, that was a beautiful pass.
Beautiful pass.
It was dropped in the bucket.
Good route.
And that's good route.
And that's why Bridgewater is sneaky good.
Right, I mean, that's what I'm saying. That was a beautiful pass. I watched it on NFL Films. They put some out there. Just watching that slow-mo, those NFL films do a great job. But that just was a beautiful pass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, final topic, and we've only got a few minutes here before we got to take our second break. The run defense. Here we go again with this. Bad day at the office, horrible day at the office. 190 yards, come on. I didn't think Denver's only averaging 100 yards a game with this duo that has been struggling, Gordon and Javonte, and all of a sudden, bam, against the Cowboys. This, to me, has to be a little something more than just a bad day at the office.
No, it is. What was the other one? It was the bad day, or what was the other?
Or the boss has his eyes on it.
Boss has the eyes on. I mean,
this run defense is a problem.
Yeah, it's better than it was last year. I mean, not that that's saying much, but no, there's some issues there that they have to. Again, with the way this team's constructed on offense, I hate to say that you just have to do it this way. They have to get leads early so that teams have to throw, because if it gets into a game where another team gets a lead and can just run downhill and run, like Nick mentioned, on the outside on this team, man, it's rough. I don't think this was just a bad day at the office.
And this is where you miss DeMarcus Lawrence, because you can say what you want about the sacks last few years. He was exactly a force on the edge, force stopping the run. You saw him in the opener. He was great, knocking the ball out. You miss that type of mentality.
That's what Randy White used to always tell me on the pregame show that I did with him was, you got to hold the edge. Yeah. That is number one.
You got to hold, and so you miss that with DeMarcus Lawrence, and hopefully you're going to get that back. But yeah, they don't have a lot of big guys in the middle of that defense. They don't have a lot of big guys up front, and they could get run over, and that's what they did, and that's what you worry about, them getting run over again.
So we're talking about a mediocre offensive line if Tyron's not in there, and a mediocre defensive line. All of a sudden, what are we talking about?
We're talking about losing the war in the trenches is what you're talking about, and that's what happens in any level. That's why 6A football doesn't play 1A football, because they would get dominated in the trenches, big boys, and that's the problem. I think this defense, it was a weird game on defensive line. Like we said, 10 tackles for loss. They were getting up the field. Osa Odigizua, I think, is going to be a really good player. He's already a good player. He's fast. He's quick. Micah Parsons, same thing. But sometimes that speed can go against you. And I think maybe that's what happened. You get a little aggressive. You get out of your lane. You're trying to make all these plays. And they ended up, gashing them. So I think they got to be more disciplined than that. This defense was do you want Do you want someone to go out and get 3 home runs and 3 strikeouts, or do you want them to be singles hitters and walks and be a little bit more? And it's a feast or famine type of defense it looks like right now.
And the trenches look a lot better when you have Tyron Smith out there, Neville Gallimore, Randy Gregory, DeMarcus Lawrence. These are guys that are on the roster that are coming back this year. So your hope is that you maybe during this time a Chauncey Golston comes along and develops a little bit more in Osa, so that you have them on top of these other guys coming back, and then you're hitting on all cylinders.
And I can't wait to see it. Can't wait to see them all out there, and it may happen right when you need it to happen. But I think in general, overall, it was a bad day at the office for the Dallas Cowboys. But it's okay if you're the boss to have your eye on this or that as we kind of mash it up a little bit. I believe this is – I said this yesterday. I was amazed at how the Minnesota Vikings had no energy against the Cowboys. And I feel like the Cowboys caught a bug in Minneapolis, a lethargy bug or something, because the Vikings came with nothing. No energy, nothing. And the Cowboys looked just like them in this game after they took advantage of it in the previous game. But it happens. All right, let's get to a couple of big news items across the league next. And Matt Ryan against Dan Quinn. Who gets the advantage there after their 6 years together in Atlanta? You're listening to Media Mash.
Hi, I'm Clint Tillison with...
And I'm Jay Novacek, and we're both with...
United Ag and Turf, the official tractor provider of the Dallas Cowboys.
So, if you need a tractor to bale some hay, a mower to cut some grass, or a gator to get some chores done...
Get a John Deere at United Ag and Turf.
And then, let's get to work.
Hey, Jay, that's my line.
Well, not today.
Get to work with a John Deere tractor package that's just right for you and your budget. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com.
The Cowboys way, where 16 Hall of Famers and 5 championships shows us what success looks like. Where turkey is always the second best part of Thanksgiving Day. Where we are all defined by one single thing, the star. Where we as fans know it's our job to keep the tradition going. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys and to support the quest of living life the Cowboys way.
Copyright 2020, Bank of America Corporation.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black? Right now, you can get the Jack Black Starter, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The starter includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites, plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Go to getjackblack.com/Cowboys and use the code word TEAMJB. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys. The Jack Black Starter, $10, free shipping.
Honey, big news.
Gary, are you okay?
Oh, I'm not Gary anymore. I'm Jackie Flash.
What?
See, I want the latest smartphone, but the best deals are only for new customers. So, to get a new customer deal, I changed my name to Jackie Flash.
Okay, but the best smartphone deals at AT&T are for everyone, new and existing customers.
That's huge. Then guess who's getting a deal?
Is it Jackie Flash?
Jackie Flash.
It's not complicated. At AT&T, our best smartphone deals are for everyone. Restrictions apply. Visit att.com for details.
Back to Media Mash.
Thank you, Cowboys Nation, for listening to Media Mash. I got to make sure I get this right. In the SWBC podcast studio, Steve Dennis, John Machota, Nick Eatman, Clarence E. Hill Jr. We've got about 15 minutes left here on this Thursday. I want to talk about Matt Ryan and Dan Quinn, 6 years together in Atlanta. Matt Ryan had a wonderful news conference in front of the media in Atlanta talking about Dan. He loves him. He says there's very few human beings better than Dan Quinn. And then he got into the nuts of it, that Quinn has knowledge, quote, has knowledge of my skill set for sure. And then he said, yeah, but there's some guys on that defense that I have some knowledge about too. In those terms, who gets the advantage here? Is it Quinn playing Ryan or Ryan playing Keanu and KZ?
It's Quinn versus Quinn has the advantage, and the reason why is like even Matt said in that press conference that, you know, he mentioned Keanu Neal, or I think he might have been asked about him specifically, and he even says Keanu Neal is not playing the same position that he was playing in Atlanta. This is something completely new. He was a safety in Atlanta. That's who Matt Ryan was seeing in practice. This linebacker role is something different. And then even with Keanu Neal and Damontae Kazee, that still leaves 9 other defenders out there. There's a lot more difference there, whereas I feel like Dan Quinn is going to know Matt Ryan so well that there's going to be little things that he's going to know that, hey, do this. This throws him off his game a little bit. And I'm not saying he's going to shut him out. I mean, he's Matt Ryan. He's a really good quarterback. But I think he's going to have little things that he knows that they're going to do that just makes him a little bit more uncomfortable.
I think the advantage actually goes to Matt Ryan because, he's talking about the other people that he knows, and you could say, well, he's talking about KZ or talking about Keanu Neal. He's probably talking about Quinn as well. I mean, he's seen this practice. He's seen this in practice. He's seen the way he likes to play. Now, he does, trick it up a little bit. He doesn't just play like one way, one style. But I think he's a student of the game, and I think that it's going to be a good chess match. But I think they both have advantages. But I think Matt Ryan has some advantages too, just knowing the style that Dan Quinn likes to play. Clarence, you with us here?
Yes, I'm with you.
Oh, what's going on Twitter?
It's your turn, Clarence. What's happening?
I'm sorry.
Right?
Is there a Flintstone tweet we need to know about?
Odell, is he?
Had a message from office. It's okay. I got a job.
The office is on. Bad day at the office, or is the office watching you?
Is the boss watching you?
We know what that is.
Message from the office.
But I like your point, Nick. Seriously, I'm kind of on your side on this because when he came from Seattle, he's the defensive guru. And these quarterbacks, when they've got a lot of years in the league and they're good, that's what they can do. They pay attention to what defenses and how to beat them.
And that's not a Matt Ryan thing. That's a veteran quarterback.
I understand.
This isn't the same Dan Quinn that was in Atlanta.
No,
he's doing different things on defense than he was doing then.
But tendencies. He comes into Atlanta, completely switches their defense. Matt Ryan's paying attention to all that. He knows what Dan Quinn gets comfortable with, what he wants to do, what he may do here and there. I think the advantage is Matt Ryan.
No, the advantage is Dan Quinn. Okay. Dan Quinn knows Matt Ryan better than Matt Ryan knows Dan Quinn because, number one, Dan Quinn bases his defense on his personnel. He has different personnel in Seattle. He has different personnel in Atlanta. The one thing the Cowboys talk about, you talk to some of the players, that he matches his schemes to what his players do best.
Are you saying Marinelli didn't?
No,
not as well as Dan Quinn does.
No,
it was just a joke. Go ahead.
And so, and we talk about a defense guru in Seattle. Yeah, I could be a guru too if I had the Legion of Boom. And he's a great defense coordinator.
You could have.
He's a great defense coordinator, but he has some special players. And some Hall of Fame type players
I think
on that Seattle defense.
Come on, Nick.
I think that's short-sighted a little bit, though. No, that's a weird look.
He's allowed to say that.
No,
short-sighted.
I think it is because what you're saying is that Matt Ryan. No, because it's like, well, Dan Quinn's got different personnel than he had before. I mean, when he had Atlanta, I mean, who was the tight end? There wasn't a tight end like Kyle Pitts. There wasn't this.
Julio.
There wasn't this.
Tony Gonzalez.
Exactly. Not 3 years ago.
Tony goes back.
Okay, what does that mean?
8 years ago?
You're saying that Dan Quinn doesn't have the same personnel here as he had then, and Matt Ryan's playing with a kick returner who's turned into an offensive playmaker, and their best receiver now is a tight end. I mean, everyone's doing things different.
Yes, but I would say that Dan Quinn knows with Matt Ryan, the quarterback, what he likes to do, what he's more comfortable with,
throws that he likes,
his
favorite
he likes
areas.
best. Than Matt Ryan on Dan Quinn with different personnel, because it's not about Dan Quinn, it's about who he got. This is about Matt Ryan. And Matt Ryan, I don't care what the offense is, what he does best is what he does best, period.
I'm with Nick because I don't think Dan Quinn was paying that much of attention to what Matt Ryan was doing. He was worried about his defense.
Well, people in Atlanta will argue that wasn't the case at all, that they're very critical of the way their defense played.
Matt Ryan's not taking.
And they didn't have special players on that defense.
No, but in practice, he knows what the defense is doing and what Quinn is calling against him.
The biggest factor in all this is that Randy Gregory's not playing. That really hurts what Dan Quinn can do. It's limiting him big time.
Hey, let's not rule out that Matt Ryan was the offensive player of the week in the NFC.
He's still a good player.
He's playing really well. All right, Cordero Patterson or Kyle Pitts. Which one is scarier in this game? Chill, you first.
Kyle Pitts, prototypical tight end. Kyle Pitts, the one Jerry Jones salivated over. Kyle Pitts. Let's go with Kyle Pitts.
Can we get those shields back here? Hey, you were looking down earlier when they were yelling at each other. Like some spittle came out of his mouth and like landed right over here.
Oh no!
Because we've been talking to tight end all year. I'm talking about special tight end. That's a special tight end.
You know what?
He's got to produce.
Here's the sad part. If he would have said Cordell Patterson, it would have been the same thing.
So,
either way,
Pitts.
We got Clarence's rather flamboyant answer.
Kyle
Nick
Spitz.
Eatman, which one, Patterson or Pitts?
You know, all these conversations are
Wait, it's not your turn.
other conversations, so we're still going back to the tight end question.
Yeah, it all comes full circle. You and I have arguments that are 20 years old we keep coming back to.
You know, honestly, I think Patterson, actually.
I do too.
Because, we just
We're disagree.
on the same
We're just
page
like-minded today.
Other than wearing that hat.
It's a good-looking
Yeah, I
hat.
don't know. What kind of hat? I'm bothered by that hat.
There's a lot going on in that
This is a golf event at Glen Eagles Country Club. The
'cause
North-South
I'm
is a
trying
big
to-
event, and I'm a Northie. See, it's the North against the South.
is that what it
North
is?
locker room, South locker
I
room.
was trying to
And we
figure.
just won the Cup. The North just won the Cup Friday and Saturday last week. Back to you, Nick.
I go with Cordell Patterson, just because he's just such a unique type of matchup, and where's he going to be? Where's he going to play? And the same. Now you could say the same about Pitts because he's a tight end that's really more of a receiver and all that. They don't have a lot of other firepower. I think Diggs might have to travel a little bit with him, and then I wonder how good he'll be in that type of setting. Patterson, though, just such a unique player, the nuances there, that one kind of worries me more.
Okay, and real quick, Machota, before you answer, how did it take people so long to get this out of Cordero Patterson? He's been in the league forever, and he is a monster.
Yeah, I don't have the answer for that, but he is the pick on here because of what we talked about earlier with the run defense. Talked about earlier about the edge, getting on the edge and what problems you can cause there. The sloppy tackling. This is a guy that if you have sloppy tackles against, it's going to be a nightmare. And then the only other thing is that Dan Quinn took over as head coach of the Falcons in 2015. Tony Gonzalez played his last game in Atlanta in 2013.
Okay.
So.
Hey, right, you're
I said 8 years ago.
Sorry.
I know.
I'm sorry. That was a shot over here.
Sorry.
God, man. It's called a subtweet right there.
Yes, Nick.
Let's give Patterson some credit with that too, of developing his game and not just saying I'm going to be Josh Cribbs, I'm going to be Devin Hester, I'm going to be this badass returner. He's developed it as well. He's developed his skills. He kept going. He kept being a receiver. He's an aggressive returner. But and they also kind of figured it out. So I don't think it's just this coach that I put a lot of it on Patterson.
They were doing some of it in Minnesota.
And to your point, though, it is so rare, though.
It's rare.
Generally, if you don't see it early on,
but they didn't know how to use him as well because he came in as a receiver.
Well, Vic Van.
No, he was a return guy.
But his position was
He
receiver.
should have gone to Denver.
Okay.
Devin Hester's
Fangio knows how
position
to
was
do
receiver
things other
too.
people
Yeah,
don't know
but
how
what
to
I'm
do.
saying is, now he's a running back. I mean,
Which is crazy.
Because he wears an 80.
They got to switch that in fantasy. That's a joke. All right, let me ask you this because these are important, I believe. And we're going to start with the latest news because it may affect the Cowboys a little bit more. OBJ to the Rams. Now, I know you and I are on a bit of different sides on this. I think he will be more effective with the Rams than Deshaun Jackson was, but I don't think Beckham is the player he was. He's been a non-factor the last 2 years. But still, the Rams, I mean, they're not messing around. They're doing whatever they can, right?
I mean, I like the message that they're sending. I do think that they're as good as he is and can be, and I do believe he still has tread left on the tire. He also can be a guy that tears apart your team a little bit behind the scenes. I mean, there are a lot of antics that go on with him that if you're like before Odell Beckham, whatever, 5 hours ago, I still thought the Rams you're going to have to go through them to get to the Super Bowl. So you add him in there. It's like, I don't know how much you really necessarily need him, but I do like the idea of where they're going with the way they've built this team. Like, they're all in on this.
If Van Jefferson gets 2 catches for 6 yards in the game, this week, that's probably not a headline. If Odell Beckham gets 2 catches for 6 yards, it could be, and he could be the reason it is a headline. So you're right about that. But I mean, Cooper Kupp, does he already have 2,000 yards? I mean, it's
phenomenal.
It's unreal what they're doing. So if
Robert Woods is phenomenal too.
Yeah,
but I'll say this: I don't believe there will be drama because I don't think Sean.
We've never not seen it with him.
But I don't think Sean McVay cares, and I don't think Matt Stafford cares. Those are 2 personalities that will not play into the drama.
If things are going well, they won't.
Do the Cowboys play the Rams in 2024? 2025, I mean, they probably will because they're going to be like 2-15 back in about 4 years because they're not drafting anybody.
Yeah,
this is
they're
all
going
in.
at it.
I mean,
in their new stadium.
And I think if their entire front office was sitting here, they would tell you the exact same thing. They're like, no, we expect that to happen. We expect it to fall off the cliff.
We've got aces and we are going all in, and we're just going to tell you we're going.
The Super Bowl in their own stadium.
Yeah, it worked last year.
Didn't we just see that? All right, the other one. Cam Newton is back. I know you're excited about this, Chill. You've always loved Cam Newton, and why not? He's a superlative player when he's healthy. Matt Rule called him with Darnold going to IR, and, that team's 4-5. They've got some ability and a decent defense. Cam Newton could get that team right into the playoff mix.
Yeah. They needed a shot in the arm there. I mean, they were playing well early in the season, and I think I don't know if the Cowboys exposed them or whatever. I mean, they beat them pretty good in that game.
Did they provide the blueprint?
The blueprint. I mean, McCarthy said this is how you play them.
Oh, right.
So
everybody else just hasn't been playing them right.
Right. Is Fangio okay? I mean, did he break his arm, patting himself on the back?
Yeah, no kidding. I like McCarthy's line on that, by the way. But I will say this. I have been bragging about how it is so nice to have a coaching advantage with this team. It's been a while, and the coaches got beat.
They got beat.
They got beat in this Denver game. Comment about Cam? No comment about Cam.
Well, he's standing up. He's coming in hot.
He is? I mean, just think about it. They cut Cam. They traded for Sam Darnold.
They're trying. They're trying. They've got no future at the position.
Kept Cam.
Yeah.
They could have kept Cam. And the thing about it is, I do believe if Cam was quarterback all year, they maybe have a winning record. They maybe have a better record and better chance of making the playoffs than they are right now.
I'm just sitting here, and
we haven't even seen him play.
I'm going to go ahead and say
it's not going to be awful.
I'm just amazed at all the teams that passed on Justin Fields in the draft.
It's been awful.
Okay. I mean, if you want a future, they've got no future at the quarterback. They're just grabbing. Oh, okay, the Jets don't want Darnold. Let's try him.
They might do it again this offseason with Deshaun Watson.
These teams got to go find their guy in the draft and commit to it. That's what the Chiefs did with Mahomes. You got to pick right.
Yeah, that's easier said than done.
It's not.
You got to pick right.
I mean, go grab one in this year's draft and
because
build
you
around.
could make the same case about the Jets. I mean, with Darnold,
they keep drafting high quarterbacks.
I know, they had Mike White all along.
But your point about the Rams' future, I feel that way about Carolina. They got no future until they
get Deshaun Watson this offseason.
No, get a young quarterback.
Deshaun is not old.
Oh my God,
28.
He's not old. He played through his 40.
Is 28 right? 28.
He's not old.
I think he's 26.
Seems a little old for him.
He's maybe 26. Yeah. He was on that Clemson team that beat our ass. Let's see what year.
Can you say that?
What year was that?
Did.
20.
He said it. This is his second.
A-bomb?
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, that's not even a bad word anymore, is it?
Deshaun Watson. The bottom line is Deshaun Watson's not old. Don't say you need to go. When you get one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the game, go get him and make it work.
He turned 26 last month.
Didn't they just get?
We're talking about Watson.
I know
Cam.
Watson.
You got him as top 5 quarterback in the league. When he's none of that other crap. I'm talking about right now playing.
Before he got, Deshaun Watson's a special quarterback.
I don't know.
All right, I want to hear from you before we go. All three of you.
You can't go 4-12.
You guys have other shows to do and other things to talk about, but I won't talk to you again. Real quick, they're going to get it all right with Atlanta. You Cowboys win.
They better.
Beat down.
They better.
Yeah, they will beat. They will beat their ass. I've been saying it all week. This is going to be a beat
watch
down.
your mouth, young man.
I'm sorry. They're going to beat them down.
I think Dak has five passing touchdowns in this
That's
game.
a lot of points.
Chill, you agree?
Historically, Dak following a loss, 18 wins, 9 losses, 40 touchdowns, and 15 interceptions.
I would like to say this. Of all the things swirling around, including the Gregory injury, which sucks, Dak is the answer. If you believe in the answer is Dak. So just keep waiting to see what he does, because when you've got that elite quarterback, which these other teams are searching for, that's the difference.
And hey, if you need a late watermelon kick, this is the team to do it against.
That's true.
But you don't have Zerline.
Yeah. Say his name again. You say it so quickly.
Haralahu.
Oh, my God. You practiced, didn't you?
Yes.
Yes, you had to go over and over it again.
Job.
That's a good effort. Good effort.
Just figured out how to spell Zerline.
Hey, fellas, thanks for letting me talk Cowboys football
which one is first?
with you again. Aaron Gonzalez.
You go first.
Yeah, you.
Thanks to Aaron Gonzalez back there behind the wall doing what he did. Thank you, guys. Enjoy the game home again against Atlanta on Sunday. We'll be back with Media Mash next Wednesday and Thursday at 4 o'clock. Bye.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!